Hello, welcome, Jared Hood. Haven't done one of these in a while. Um, Divisional round football this year has been pretty good so far. We're 2 games in, but I've been excited all week for these 4 games. And yesterday did not disappoint. Today I hope does not disappoint either, but hard to see good back-to-back days. Hey, I'm rooting for it. Football just works out where it doesn't work out with good games. But we're gonna find interest because we got 4 good teams going today. Talk about yesterday real quick. First game, listen, 3 of the 4 games I thought were toss-ups. This was one of the ones that I thought was a toss-up. But I did expect the Titans to win. I thought the defensive line for the Titans was just going to be a little too much. And it was, but Joe Burrow, and listen, if you know me, I love Joe Burrow. I've been talking about him for a little while. His last 7 games, though, specifically, has just been phenomenal. And he's playing lights out. And when you get sacked 9 times like he did, but you play as well as he ended up playing, there's something to say about that. It just shows the poise he has. We all know about the Joe Burrow swag. Jamar Chase making big plays everywhere too. I thought that was the difference in this game at times was that the Titans secondary was not able to capitalize as much as they should have been able to. Also, Ryan Tannehill making bad decisions. What do you do there? Where do you go with that? That is such an interesting thing going forward with them because he's not a bad quarterback. He is actually better than that. But the decision there at the end, the last interception, you can't have that. The Bengals defense too, also neutralizing Henry. I thought the way their game plan was just, even last week against the Raiders, I thought their game plans have been fantastic. So that was really interesting to watch too. They're not. There's nothing flashy about the Bengals defense, but they're doing everything that they have to. And like I said, their scheme and their game plan has been, to me, really impressive and fun to watch. The Titans D, like I said about the secondary, I like Vrabel though, and I think they're going to be okay moving forward. I am just very interested to see what they do with the quarterback position because we know how good that offense is. Their offensive line, especially when healthy, is really good. I don't have to tell you about Derrick Henry, but you saw his backup bust off a huge run yesterday in a playoff game, which his backup has been the guy all season since Henry got out. But we know about AJ Brown, Julio not being the Julio of old, but listen, it's the NFL. Things happen. Injuries take over. He's still a factor, and when he can, he is great. So we know about that. It's just what are they going to do with Tannehill because that's hard to come back from. I'm not saying they should move on from him, but I'm interested to see if they do because that is hard to come back from. But I really do like the head coach Vrabel. They are in the right direction, but it's one of those you've been in the right direction for so long. Eventually, if you don't ever capitalize on it, it does turn the other way. Listen, I'm wearing a jersey of an era of a team that did that. The Eagles, they were so close, never won the Super Bowl back in 2004. They made it, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. If you don't capitalize on it, sometimes it just never happens. And eventually, it is going to go the other way. Other game last night. This was the game that I did think there, like the 3 of the 4 games I thought were, I didn't know who was going to win. I was pretty convinced that the Packers were at least going to win this, only because I feel like the Niners were a little banged up. If I was scared that their defense wasn't as healthy and going to be as good as they needed to be. I'm not gonna say like the Niners defense was solid. The game plan was great. Even the players who I thought were going to be injured and maybe not play, who ended up playing, they actually had impacts. Um, so everything went in the Niners' favor that way. We know about the special teams blunders, and there's no way to. It was bad. That was embarrassing. That's not good. Um, and the Niners had every break their way with that too, right? Including the Packers only having 10 players on the field for the last play of the game for the field goal. Just everything breaks the Niners' way. Jimmy G, I think Jimmy G is good enough to get you obviously to a Super Bowl. I think he's good enough to probably win a Super Bowl. Jimmy G right now, I think because of that overthrow in the Super Bowl, he came into these playoffs thinking I gotta show I'm the guy, and rightfully so on the basis of look, if they don't beat Dallas, there's a good chance then there's no way he's back with the Niners next year. Now that they beat Dallas and Green Bay, it's like, man, now you put yourself in a position. He's still trying to make that one play too much because I think he's still in his head about the last big games he's played in, playoff wise, Super Bowl. But the Niners have been so good to overcome it. I love Kyle Shanahan. I love his play calling. Yes, he has some really embarrassing blunders on his resume, no question. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But at the same time, like things like last night, man, I don't know if Deebo Samuels is the best player in the NFL, but I think that Deebo Samuels is a very important aspect, and he's just as much of an MVP as anybody else that, including myself, with overlooking him. Not just I know I love Deebo, I've loved him forever, but it's just like man, in the big moments, he over and over this whole season, and then you get into the playoffs, and the big moments, he still do like he can't top it. That 3rd and 7 last night from Kyle Shanahan, that call was just to me. I mean, look, Aikman said it. You need your best play that's going to give you 7 yards right here. That was their best play. A bunch of motion, get Deebo in the backfield, move somebody else out, boom. I mean, it was just, uh, it was so. Other than the other 4th down that did not work out for the Niners, I thought Kyle Shanahan had a perfect game plan last night. Played, I mean, that was just as good as you need to be. Only 13 points scored though, right? So that also shows the limitation. It's cold. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. There's a lot of factors that happen, but only 13 points. If you're the Packers at minimum, the #1 seed at home, 13 points, you feel like you should have won that game, especially when the California team is the one that is kicking to win it in the blizzard. That's not what you expect. But Rodgers missed some throws. Like again, the perfect stuff had to happen for the Niners. The perfect stuff kind of did happen against the Packers too. Rodgers missed some throws that he usually doesn't miss. Made some reads he usually doesn't make. It's an anomaly what was happening out there for him at times. They've been the run, which I was I just not expected that. The fumble too in the first quarter. Until that play, it looked like one team wanted to be there in that cold, and it looked like the other team did not. And then after that play, everything switched. Um, you can't have what happened right before half, where you get stuff as the Packers, the bad play by Jimmy G, but then you have the field goal. Like I said, breaks. It's just you compact everything into one football game. That happens sometimes. Part two, going to talk about today's games, the Rams and the Bucs. Okay, listen, I love Sean McVay. I'm a huge fan of the Rams coaching staff. Um, I've always been hot and cold on Matt Stafford, but I like Jimmy G. I just said I think he can win a Super Bowl, right? I think he's good enough to get you there if you do everything like a Kyle Shanahan can. Matt Stafford's much better than Jimmy G. He can clearly do what he needs to, especially he's lived up to everything that you would expect in the way that he's been his talent, right? Even though they haven't won a lot with the Lions, he hasn't won a lot with the Lions, but everyone's always talking about his talent, blah blah. It's what he has done with the Rams has proven. Yes, his whole career, he's that good. The Rams, the Rams D line and even linebackers can get great pressure, but they can get great pressure without having to blitz a whole lot. But they can get great pressure. So that's how you beat Brady, right? Everyone's always talking about that. So Brady's going to have to get the ball out to his skill makers or skill players. I'm sorry. The Bucs, the O line has just been really beat up. We all know about that. So the difference to me today is going to be the Rams secondary outside of Jalen Ramsey making plays. Not that they can't, because look what they did last week to Kyler Murray. And I know Kyler Murray and Tom Brady are two different players, but look at last week what they did to Kyler Murray. Got him flustered, got in his face. He started making bad throws. In the Rams secondary, pick six. Rams secondary made sure that the Cardinals wide receivers, couldn't get on the routes to the spot where the ball was going to be. There was a lot of good stuff happening for the Rams secondary, and they did what they had to, and that's what they need to do again against the Bucs to win this football game, because we all know about Tom Brady. Tom Brady gets the ball out the fastest any faster than anybody. Okay, we know that. Like that's just who he is. That's how he does. That's how he makes his hay. I think that continues. I'm picking the Bucs because I really don't ever pick against Tom Brady, and I think he's going to be able to get the ball out. But the Bucs are going to have to find the run game, and that's going to be hard. So they're going to have to get creative with their run game, because that defensive line for the Rams is so good, and Brady's not just going to have to get the ball out fast. They're going to have to get open quick, and they're going to need a little bit of breaks from their offensive line. Defense, I think the Bucs defense is good, and I think they're good enough to stall the Rams offense, but I could see this turning into a shootout. Look, that favors the Rams if that's the case. But again, there's so much I felt all week. There's so much that favors the Rams. There's so much in the Rams direction. I can't bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs at the moment. And he just it's just that hot hand thing. He's always got it. It's just a 24/7. Tom Brady's got a hot hand. It's a Nick Saban effect. And I just got burned on Nick Saban. I can't go against Nick Saban, right? I didn't go against Nick Saban. Shoulda. Georgia was the better team going into that game. There's no question. But Rams are the better team going into this game. I think that's debatable, but it's only because of offensive line issues, I think, for the Bucs, or else it could be debatable. But I think it's going to be a good football game. I hope. I like I said, it's going to be hard to get two good football games today, but I think these are four good teams. It's two good matchups, and I think we could get two good football games, which would be awesome. Picking the Bucs again. This is one sports talk people that just throwing stuff out there. Yeah, it's one of those. I don't know. I'm picking the Bucs. Bills Chiefs. Look, two best teams in football, in my opinion. And the best team in football doesn't always win the Super Bowl. The winner of this game could go and lose next week to the well, they would be at home, but they could lose next week to the Bengals. Would it be shocking? Yes. Would I be like, oh my gosh, like that's just no way that happened? No, because sometimes football just works out this way. I do feel like these are the two best teams. I am very excited for the Chiefs and the Bills. Bills beat them earlier this season. I don't know if that means a whole lot. It was back in October. I do think that was a long time ago. If you really sit down and look at what the Chiefs have turned into from then to now. And I was even saying it back then, not necessarily after that game, because I did feel like the Bills were legit, but I was saying it back then. Excuse me. Talk to me in November, December, almost January about the Chiefs. Not that they were bored or they're lazy, but they're slow starters. They have been for a while. Yes, it's usually only one or two games, but that lingered for 4 or 5 games. Longer season this year, not saying it's okay or an excuse. I just wasn't super worried about them. Here they are. The Bills have a really good defense. The Bills have a really good offense. I think everyone's going to show up to play. Chiefs have a defense is playing really well. I think their offense is obviously. Everyone talked about Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes was fine. Yeah, he's always going to make those. Back in the day, we used to just be like, oh, he's not back in the day. Just a couple years ago, we used to be like, oh, he's just young, whatever, let it go. That the just silly plays are never going to leave him because that's part of Patrick Mahomes. That's part of what makes him him. On the other end, Josh Allen. These two quarterbacks have been playing the best. They've been two of the best quarterbacks. I think the two best quarterbacks in the league over the last 2 years. So, like Josh Allen on the other end. I mean, I was talking about a hot hand with Tom Brady. Listen, I last week was laughing on the first couple plays when I saw that they were just throwing the Bills. I was like, look at this weather. Why are they doing that? How silly was I? I mean, he tore it up in the bad weather. That just shows how talented he is. We all know about his run threat. It's going to be so exciting. The difference in this game, I think, and it's so close, is coaching. I love Andy Reid. I'm looking. I love Andy Reid. I love Andy Reid as my parents' basement, but I love Andy Reid. Okay. So if I'm going to tell you a difference and it's coaching, clearly I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I do not care who wins this football game. I am very excited about this football game. I think it's going to be such a fantastic back and forth. I hope everybody watches today's football, and I hope everybody enjoys today's football. Let me know if this was any good. I'm probably going to keep continuing to try to do videos. So thank you. Go Birds.